Hello, my wonderful viewers. Thank you so much for sparing your time for me. Thank you so much for doing a follow-up of setting boundaries. And guys, this is setting boundaries episode 2. So in this podcast of episode 2, we are going to talk, I'm going to share with you on how to set your boundaries. I hope episode 1 on definition and categories of boundaries help you, and hope these two will help you. And I hope also episode 1 will also help you in setting your boundaries, because you already know what category you are, or what category, or which group do you want to set your boundaries on. So guys, now here, to start setting boundaries will depend on which category you are. I hope you've now decided that by listening to this, you've decided on where. So are you going to set your boundaries on your relationship? Are you going to set your boundaries on time boundary? Are you going to set your boundaries on your house manager? Remember guys, house managers also, we give them rules. When you're employing a house manager, when you get, you will normally give the rules and guidelines. Are you going to set your boundaries on relationship, at your workplace, in school, or whatever you're going to, or your finance, or anything? Now, how you are going to do it? For me, in this episode, I'm going to generalize everything. I'm not only going to talk on specifically on finance, or on sex, or relationship, or house manager, whatever. I'm just going to generalize now. From here, you will know how to go about setting boundaries. And remember also, in this podcast, this is where you are supposed to know whether you are setting healthy boundaries or unhealthy boundaries. Because guys, healthy boundaries will make you a success, or will make me succeed, and will also give you a peace of mind. And unhealthy boundaries will lead you to hell. So that one will come in episode 3. But now, in when you are making boundaries, make sure you make healthy boundaries. So guys, let us start setting our boundaries, having in mind that a poorly set boundaries will lead to its consequences, and a well or healthy set boundaries will give us mental well-being. Now, first of all, when you're setting your boundaries first, whatever the case of setting your boundary, first recognize what you deserve, how you deserve to be treated. Recognize first how you deserve to be treated. For example, ask yourself, why am I setting my boundary? What do I really want in my life? You know yourself. These boundaries also help us know ourselves better. So you know yourself better. So first of all, before you set your boundaries, know how you want to be served. How do you want to be handled by either your partner, by your colleagues, or your friends, or whatever name is. But first of all, consider how you deserve to be treated. Secondly, when you're setting boundaries, especially in time, consider that there are some emergencies that might crop up. Your boundaries should have space. You should give it some space. Like for example, if you are setting time, give your time like a period of some interval times, because emergencies can arrive and can arise. And also, when you are setting, apart from that, also give your timing, give set your time to some extra activities, like make sure you have your daily exercise, your daily routine activities. You should also give them time. So consider that. So you don't really need to be strict on time, or even if it's finance. Make sure that you know the total income that you are getting, or track your finances to know exactly. So when you are setting boundaries, especially on time, give some space. As a reminder, and I will say this again, when you're setting boundaries for time, consider adequate time for each aspect of their life. For example, at work, you should not be too much at work. consider your family, and consider hobbies, and consider your daily activities. And for partners, you should have time for your partner. This is very, very important. So boundaries should not be unhealthy because of that. So you should be considerate when, especially on time. And beside professionals commitment, a personal commitment also demands proper time and attention. For example, time for family and time for friends. So socializing also is very important. There are people, as we said, there are people who have what personal boundaries, not knowing that it's unhealthy. So socializing is very important for mental well-being. So another thing, when setting boundaries on finance, keep track of your finance. Find out your total income in a month. Find out your total budget. Find out. Otherwise, you can face financial stress. So create budget and adhere to it. When you create a budget, make sure you're following it well and limit your expenditure. Consider what you really want and what you need. Compare, and lastly, control those who borrow money if you have friends, and also figure out what's outside your money comfort zone. In general, ask yourself, what is good in setting my boundaries? I'm setting my boundaries. What is good? How will it help me? You have to consider that, because think of your aim or objective of setting these goals. So you can just start small. The key is to start small and focus on one thing at a time. Focus on one thing at a time. That keyword, focus on one thing at a time. Be clear. Focus on what you want clearly as if possible, and then practice it. If it's something that you have set, make sure, because we normally say practice makes perfect. Practice. You set your goals. You set your boundaries. Sorry. Make sure you practice. When you are used to principle of practicing, you will not be nervous, because some of these goals makes us nervous. Like, for example, I'm going to tell my partner that we need to have a test first before we know. So you feel nervous, like, what will he think when I tell him this? What you'll think, like, I don't trust him. You'll think like, no, practice. And then, so that to avoid being nervous, write out what you really want to say. Write it and talk it over again, and don't fear. If you want to set your goal, this is how you want to be treated well. This is how you want to be treated, okay? So keep it simple. For efficient time setting, again, in fact, setting boundaries mostly affect people with time. That's why I'm too much on time. Identify your priorities and then explore things, and then that matters. Identify your needs and responsibility by listing them down. Essential tasks that you need to do on your day, on professional commitments or other commitments. And then communicate your time boundaries with others. Let others know your time boundaries. Like, someone will say, oh, you want to go and see your son, so at this time I think she is sleeping. Like, for example, it is healthy, and we are required to sleep at least 8 hours in a day. 8 hours in a day, and a day has 24 hours. So meaning you have to spare 8 hours for your sleeping time, however busy, however what, because it is healthy. You miss sleeping for 8 hours, you get exposed to other attacks like stress and anxiety and all that. So time is very, very essential in setting time, and then stick to your time boundaries. Sometimes your personal boundaries may overlap your professional time, and also your professional time might also overlap your time. So stay persistent and attempt to keep things consistent and steady. Ensure you clearly define your borders and adjust and consider that those things that you don't always go as planned. There will always be emergencies, yes, as I said before, but also create space for time. Stay motivational. Remember, guys, at times when you set your boundaries well, you might inspire someone. Yeah, you might inspire someone. You might motivate someone. You might be someone's mentor, and you might not know, because the way you plan yourself, the way you set your goals, and by setting your boundaries, guys, also It's very important because people will respect you, you know, because you, it's like you have your principle, you don't go against your principle. So those are ways of setting boundaries. Otherwise, if all these are done well, setting boundaries, sure you will end up in healthy boundaries, and this will give you a good peace of mind. So follow these rules and you will end up with healthy boundaries. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode, and let's move to episode 3, where we are going to talk about, and this about healthy and unhealthy boundaries. And guys, this is the most important part because it can either make your boundaries be successful or not. Because in episode 3 we are going to talk about the characteristic of healthy boundaries and the characteristic of unhealthy boundaries. So this, after listening to that podcast in episode 3, you will be able to identify and get the best boundaries. So thank you so much, and bye bye. Let's meet on another podcast.